Hello, and welcome to the Victory Podcast. I'm your host, Monique Watson, and thanks for joining. So, in this episode, I sat down again with my husband, Krishna Watson, and we talked a bit about gaming, some of the more interesting games that are out right now, and how is COVID-19 impacting the gaming community, both fighting games, strategy games, and kind of what that means for the future of that. So, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on what time you're listening to this. Thank you for joining the Victory Podcast. I'm your host, Monique Watson. And again, today I have, courtesy of Shelter in Place, my lovely guest co-host, Christian, my husband. Say hello.
Hello.
He's fine. So today we'll talk a little bit around a couple of different topics. We talked a bit in our last episode around gaming and love for gaming and interest in certain games, and brought up a couple of different topics. One game that's really popular, is the game Animal Crossing on Nintendo Switch. So we'll talk a little bit about that whole thing. We'll also talk about how different games, especially fighting games, which will kind of define what that means, and some examples of fighting games many you probably know, like Street Fighter, and other strategy type games like Dota, like we talked about in the last episode. And how is COVID-19 impacting those? You know, there's a lot of live events that normally go on around this time of year around both of those kind of game genres, and kind of what that's looking like, and also how COVID is affecting some new game systems. There's a couple of new game systems from some of the major manufacturers that are supposed to come out, but with all the COVID-19, there's various delays on the games themselves. So what that means, and kind of looking at that. So this is another gaming focused podcast, this episode, but it's interesting topics. I think it shows an impact for at least one business. So let's go ahead and get into it.
So, Animal Crossing is a game where it's actually a very pleasant game, very chill, where you're just like this cute little character, and you live among a bunch of animals, and
So
you
you're
kind
you're
of
you're not an animal, right?
no, you're not
You're
an animal.
you're a person.
You're a person.
Okay.
But yeah, you get flown out or trained into like this new town, and it's just the story, quote unquote, is usually just you're like kind of striking out on your own for the first time.
Mhm.
So you're brought out to this new place. In this case, it's an island. Um, and
How do you take a train to an island?
No, that's what I'm saying. You're usually brought to some place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like sometimes it was a train, whatever. Now you're flown out to an island.
Got it.
So
Okay.
you're flown
Sorry.
on to this island, and like I said, you're starting out. So you have this like dinky little place. It's like I don't I don't remember if there's litter or trash or whatever, but basically there's like maintenance that needs to be done. You have this dinky place, and you kind of work your way up to, um, just kind of upgrading your house, and making friends with the people in the community, which are usually like cute little animals, like a hippo lady or something like that. And the hippo lady likes, I don't know, working out, so she'll have like uh, little hand weights and stuff. She'll be walking around, things like that. It's cute little characters like that, and you give them gifts. And a big thing is just about kind of just setting up the town as you like it. Decorating. Decorating is the really big thing. Especially with social media, it's really popular now. People are like, oh, look at my house. This is my room.
Oh, you decorate the inside
You
too.
can decorate the inside of your
Oh.
house. You used to only be able to decorate the inside of your house, but now you have more freedom with that, I guess. I don't play it. I just hear about it, osmosis. So, but I actually played the first one, but that was a long
Oh,
time
this
ago.
is a.
This is a series. This is
Oh,
like
okay.
the fourth one.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what do you think that's made Animal Crossing? Because I think I saw something, and people email Monique at the Victory Podcast and correct me if I'm wrong, but something around like for 6 weeks straight, it was like number 1 game on somewhere. I don't know. It was just like one of the top games. Um, Definitely for Nintendo.
So
So what do you think was key to that? Is it because it's just fun or what?
so it really released in just kind of a perfect storm, right? Um, it's a cute game. It's really easy. Is there's no losing. It's a Nintendo game, so everyone knows Nintendo is very appealing for everybody, right? Usually when you hear the phrase for all ages, you think, oh, it's for kids, but whatever, right? No, this is for all ages, truly. And it's chill, and everyone had a lot of time on their hands suddenly. It released like at the beginning of April.
Mm,
So, people were looking for an escape, and you can put hours and hours and hours into this game. And it's it just kind of provided that escape for people. So it really did release. People were already anticipating its release for like years, really,
mm,
by the time it released. But the extra COVID factor, I mean,
mm.
really kind of boosted it extra because even at the time, like Nintendo Switches, which the system that it's on,
Mm-hmm.
were rare. I remember when they first came out, I had a little bit of trouble finding one. It took me about a month or so to kind of get one. And that kind of died down after, people got their Switches and, it was like, okay, good. You could see them in the stores again. And then when Animal Crossing came out, it became a huge problem again.
Mm.
There weren't enough Switches on the, shelves, and they were just selling out. And
Sounds very similar to some paper products.
yeah, yeah, it's just a sudden surge because like, oh God, I gotta get Animal Crossing and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it just released in kind of a perfect storm. People looking for an escape, and it's a very cute and chill game to play.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it might be something to check out if you haven't checked it out. We'll put some info links in the show notes so you can check it out.
Yeah,
Judge for yourself.
at least watch some
At
videos
least
or
watch some
look
video
at.
info. We'll send some links to people streaming it or something. So if you want to get a flavor for it before you
Yeah,
decide to jump in feet first
yeah, you might even be able to
or
just.
thumbs first.
You might even be able to look on like Twitter on like hashtag Animal Crossing or something like that. There's probably some hashtags around it because people. That's been like the big thing. People are able to easily post their like their decorations, their houses, their yards in the game and stuff like that.
I
So
can see that that would be popular, given that, in other games that you played and other games that are out there, personalization is such a big,
yeah,
different modifications, different skins or outfits, costumes, whatever you want to call them, that players or characters or worlds or what have you can do is super popular.
yeah, that's actually a thing. Today I saw people. You can. I don't even know how this works within the game, but you can like design clothing for your character
In Animal Crossing.
in Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Yes, you can design like the clothing. Um, so one thing I saw like a while ago, a couple of weeks ago, was someone like given the blueprints for the clothes that they made to make them. It was like a cosplay, which is like a costume to look like characters from other video games, which I thought was pretty creative.
Mm.
And this one today, it was like, oh, this is my Animal Crossing fashion line, and it was kind. I mean, it was pretty neat looking stuff. So people getting really creative with the clothes and stuff too. So it's not even just the decorations. You can, just look cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really a neat game.
Yeah, absolutely. Something to check out for folks.
Yeah.
So in the world of speaking of COVID-19 and all the adventures that are, um, so just to give folks some context, normally there's a lot of around this time of year we've talked about we've gone to the international. There's different fighting games, which are games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, a game called Tekken, um,
Super Smash
Super
Brothers.
Smash Brothers, another very popular fighting game. Those kind of games. Will often in what is it, July, June, July time frame that the like Evo and stuff like
So
that goes on.
so there's tournaments all throughout the year for fighting games.
Right.
I mean, there's tournaments all throughout the year for any
For all
kind of
games.
games.
Yeah, but one of the some of the bigger ones coming up, and I say all that to say, it's just interesting because a lot of those have been canceled or expected to be canceled,
Hmm.
or delayed or whatever you want to call it. And it's just interesting and wanted to get your take on, how do you think that's going to affect those different gaming communities, or how has it affected for those who are already canceled or delayed? And then do you see I think there's going to be some hesitancy around large, both officially and unofficially, around large events for the foreseeable future, at least through most of this year. Um, so how
So,
do you see that affecting the gaming communities, whether it's the fighting game community or other games?
well, I'll tell you one thing. For fighting games specifically, um, I mean, and this is a super niche issue that, and it's gonna take some explaining, but we'll get there. So, fighting games have the issue of they are much better when you play them in person. Most games I would say are improved by having online multiplayer, being able to play people across the country. Most of the time, you don't want to play people across the world because there's too much. It's just too great a distance for this, you know, current internet, right?
Internet and
Internet
response times
infrastructure.
for like an input. I press this button, this thing
It's
happens.
it's gonna take too
It's
long
yeah,
going over oceans and stuff like that.
way better than dial up, but still just that delay can throw off the ability to kind of
To
play
play.
properly.
So fighting games are extremely sensitive to this. So no one in the history of anything is ever gonna say that wow, this fighting game feels better online than it does in person. So uh, it's in the fighting game community. Like I said, this is very niche. It's online play has always been kind of looked down on, like, oh, this isn't real. This strategy wouldn't work offline, you know, what have you, right? So, what happens when you take away the tournaments? No one can gather, or they really shouldn't, social distancing and whatnot. There's no local tournaments anymore, so everything's been taken online. Obviously the tournament organizers are trying to adapt as best they can, and we'll get into that in a second. Um, but it's just kind of an awkward situation because a lot of these games don't play well online, um, but people are just kind of really trying to soldier through it. And some people really do love the games they play, and that's why they're still playing. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to try and just keep the scene alive for when we can get back together and play in the most enjoyable way offline, with the guy next to me as opposed to across the country. So, and then this is kind of specifically a U.S. issue too, because internet infrastructure here is not as good as I'm not sure about Europe as a whole. I'm sure it's better in pieces of Europe, but I don't know about the whole continent. And but like Japan, Korea has fantastic internet infrastructure. Um, I'm not sure about China, but probably like the big cities in China have probably a better internet infrastructure.
Do you think that has more? Sorry to interrupt your explanations, but do you think that has more to do with the geographic like setup, the U.S. versus those countries or cities or what have you that you've mentioned?
It definitely plays a part. Tokyo is a ginormous metropolitan
Technical
area.
term, people, ginormous.
Yeah. Korea, Seoul, same thing. It's huge. And just the density allows for them to, it's more efficient, right? If you go to Montana, right, and you say, all right, we're gonna lay down all this gigabit, wiring and stuff. How many people are you serving? Like
So it's like a cost
10,000.
factor.
Yeah, it's kind of a cost factor, and yeah,
Okay.
just the geographical distance is not like uniform, right? I mean, all this to say, basically, the U.S. infrastructure is not as good, and so playing online games in the U.S. is more tricky. So fighting games are suffering for that. Um, so as Monique was saying a little bit earlier, the biggest fighting game tournament of the year across the world is called Evo Championship Series or something like that. And it's usually like early to mid August, over a weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Um, and they have tournaments for all kind of fighting games. You know, but usually there's like 8 or 9 main stage games where they, as like I said, it's like they have the games on the main stage on big screens. They have these tournaments in like big convention halls, so thousands and thousands of people. Um, and then on Championship Sunday, they
Championship Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
yeah, on Championship Sunday they have it in the like Mandalay Bay arena, and they kind of go through the top 8. So you know the biggest games have like 1.5. Let's just say 1,000 ish. Yeah, I would say like the biggest games are like 1,000 ish. I'm really not sure. I should have looked that up. Anyways,
1,000-ish
let's just
people
say
playing
yeah,
in
a
them,
thousand ish
feeding
entrants
into the initial
tournament
starting the tournament.
on
Wow.
Friday.
On Friday. How they
How
get
to-
through those people just kind of one and done games or
So I mean, there's different rules for different games, but usually it's like 2 out of 3.
okay.
Um,
But the games are fast though
the
too.
games are fastish, yeah. I mean, and it's just that that's just kind of speaking to the true scale of this tournament
Mm.
that they run through these ginormous brackets.
Once again, technical,
Yeah,
ginormous.
huge brackets in the span of 3 days.
Huge.
So yeah, so it's huge, and it's it takes place. It's this big spectacle thing. So obviously that's canceled, right? That's not happening. It would have been, like I said, in early to mid August. It's not happening.
Rona bites the dust again.
So in as soon as that was announced, people like, oh no, what are we gonna do? That's people look for, they leave Evo the previous year, and they're like, all right, so next August, let's go. They're already thinking about the next one. So it's a huge fixture in any fighting game community. That's how, like, even your like super niche fighting games that there's like 30 people online at a time, which is obviously a very small number, when like the bigger fighting games like Street Fighter have like thousands of people online at any given time. It's when your small niche community can kind of get together, and they have like setups, or places where you can set up your console or PC, I guess, and just play, right? And you can kind of meet up. It's really a convention at this point.
So, but for the fighting games, this is like the culmination of some of the major tournaments, kind of?
No, it's usually just kind of like a super premium stop on their tours. It's not really
It's not really like the championship, like final.
It
This
is.
is it.
It's kind of weird because it is, in that the fact it's usually the biggest tournament.
Okay.
So it's always an accomplishment, right? Everyone, like, there are people in like Street Fighter who have won so the the Street Fighter Ultimate Cup or whatever it's called, Capcom Cup. Capcom is the developer of Street Fighter. Um, and so if you win Capcom Cup, you've kind of won the culmination event
Got it.
of that year. But still, the Evo Championship is kind of held in the same regard.
So I wonder if like the Evo would be similar-ish, as best you can compare them to like the World Cup versus the Olympics. Like the Olympics, to me, I view as you mentioned, the Capcom Cup of being the best of that specific.
I would say,
or maybe vice versa.
I mean, I would really say it's really the same because in the Olympics, it's people all over the world.
Yeah, actually, it's more like the Olympics as I think about.
Yeah, it's people from all over the world, Japan, China, Korea, Europe. They fly in, U.S. obviously, South Americans, all kind of Africa. It's actually funny because whatever. I'm not gonna go into that. What we in Tekken. So I'm just gonna talk about it. Whatever. This will be a short aside. I'm sorry. Give me 5 minutes. In Tekken, the South Korean scene dominated. Basically, no one could beat the Koreans for a very long time. I'm gonna generalize here just to make it short. And all of a sudden, about a year and a half ago, we kind of discovered as a community the Pakistan scene. And just because of like economic reasons, they couldn't travel and like show their skill. So people would, there would be whispers in the community like, hey, you never heard of these Pakistani guys? They're really, really good. Like, wow, you guys are really going to be surprised. It's just that good. It's like, they would never beat the Koreans, whatever. And then it happened. and a bunch of the Pakistani guys got to finally travel to some of the biggest tournaments. And one of them won both the Evo of that year, and they had started having a sister Evo event, Evo Japan, and he won both of those.
Wow.
Out of nowhere, no one knew his name the year, that time last year, and here he is winning the two biggest events, basically.
Because normally it seems to center around the same 20 or so.
Yeah, it'll be
across
the
the
same.
different games, right? So not that they play all the different games, but in Street Fighter, there's these 20 or so that end up in the top 8
players.
Yeah. And across the different games. But
Yeah,
to have somebody come out of
complete
seemingly
left field
anonymity
and beating the tar out of everyone, and and beating them well, like it was
no tar left.
No tar left. So, anyways, yeah. So it's a big global spectacle. Anyways, so that was canceled. So they were like, okay, well, there's no Evo. What are we gonna do in that weekend? That weekend's kind of, it's just, what are we gonna do to fill up that time? And so I guess a week or so later, they announced that they were gonna do an online Evo. I don't even know if they called it like the championships anymore, but it was like an online Evo Online edition. That's what it was. So people were immediately kind of almost disgusted. It was like, this is not real.
Per your commentary of these games not being
as good online.
Yeah.
Like they're functional, they work, but it's not the same. Mm-hmm. It's not the same as the arcades and things like that fighting games grew out of. So that was kind of the immediate reaction. Because the main stage Evo games, I'm just gonna go through them. This is not on the test. So it's like Street Fighter.
Definitely is on the test.
Street Fighter, Grand Blue Fantasy. Shoot, I don't even remember.
Tekken.
Yeah, Tekken. Whatever. Yes, Smash. Okay, we don't need to go through the whole list. Let's all those games. None of them play well online. Smash is the worst. I really like Smash, but the online is absolutely just shameful. It's really bad. I don't know how. they let it be that bad. Anyways, so people kind of assumed they didn't announce the games that were going to be on there, but people assumed like, oh man, this is really going to be bad because none of these games play well online. Um, but to their credit, they announced that okay, well, this is going to take place over 5 weeks, 5 weekends, and the main stage Evo games that were for the offline can't obviously now canceled thing are they're gonna have like special showcases and like just shows, right? They're not gonna be the open tournaments that Evo for. It's not. I'm not sure. There's probably still gonna be some kind of money involved. Like it's gonna be like a show match between maybe 4 people or whatever, right? And not a 300 person bracket and
So when you say
people.
like a show match, that's like just
It's
like the top ranked players kind of just playing for like
yeah, like
sort of
the
like how it's not quite the same, but there's currently going on in football. There are golf tournaments for charity going on with like Tom Brady, um, Peyton Manning, J.J. Watt, people like that are just playing for charity. I mean, they're competing,
yeah.
but it's for charity.
It would be very similar to that.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't. I haven't looked into it. Basically, I'm just imagining that's what it's going to be. Some kind
it's
of show
potentially.
matches,
Yeah.
or what they've been doing. A lot of the different fighting game companies have been doing is doing kind of like a what you call it, like tournament retrospectives, which I could talk about a little bit. They had one actually just a couple weeks ago, Combo Breaker, which is in my mind pretty much the second best tournament of the year besides Evo.
For
They
fighting games.
for a fighting game, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had a Combo Breaker retrospective where since they can't have it this year, um, they were gonna they put together like a video package for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, basically going through the most exciting moments from the past. I think they started it in 2014 was their first year, so they went from 2014 all the way through to 2019, and just so it's like, well, we can't have Combo Breaker, 2020, but we'll have Combo Breaker this weekend if you kind of catch my drift, right? And it was really fun. I watched the whole time. I was glued to the screen. Um,
So that they still have the same like commentators and not the same, but like do they have like the whole thing of both the sideline commentating and the gameplay kind of just going, and do they have another layer of commentating
no,
to kind of intro each
it
match or
was
anything?
it was really it was basic. Well, yeah, it was kind of like one of the commentators, I guess they kind of hired him out and was like, he kind of gave an introduction to like the moment or the match that they were about to show. It's just like, okay, this match took place in 2016. This guy's, beat this guy every time he saw him, and this is the first time he finally won over his demon. Demon, which is a fighting game term of somebody who always beats you. The record is 30 to 0 and you're the 0. That person is your demon. So when you beat your demon, it's always like a huge triumph over someone that always beats you. Anyway, so he'll be like, yeah, this in 2016 this guy finally beat his demon, let's check it out. And that, and then you'll watch the match, and then go into the next match, on and on and on for 3 days. So that was a really fun thing. So I imagine the showcases or whatever is going to be something like that. It's going to be kind of maybe like a retrospective, maybe a show match of some kind for those games in person, but like with a small group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to be August, or no, it's going to be like mid-July if this take place over 5 weeks. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm sure they could probably get, 4 people in a room,
Yeah, because you really only need the four people. You have a handful of people, two
some production
commentators,
people.
and maybe another, let's say, four people for production to run the cameras and sound and
Yeah, it
do
seems like
some
something
transitions. That's doable, especially with
maybe.
it being more online-ish style that um,
Yeah, it's
It
expected to
becomes
have
more
a
of a
smaller production.
yes, production quality, not quality, but
Yeah, but so I
will
mean,
be
this is
different.
just wild speculation on my part, though.
Yep,
It
that's all we can do.
it could also just be a video, which, you know, they can do, higher production with a video, so probably that too. Anyways, so that's what those are gonna be. But the biggest announcement was the open tournaments were 4 games that weren't even on the main stage of the, now canceled tournament.
Oh,
So, one would be Mortal Kombat actually. Um,
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat 11. Um, I guess I'll go from the more less weird games to the weird games. So Mortal Kombat is kind of the most popular one. Then you have Killer Instinct, which was a game released in like 2013, and it was a remake of uh, really old games on like the Super Nintendo and like arcades.
Is it like based on? Isn't there a movie called Killer Instinct?
There is, but I don't think there's any
Oh,
relation at
okay.
all.
I mean, that's such a
Probably.
general term, so.
Yeah, it's very yeah. But yeah, that's a remake of those older games, and I mean, really cool game. But it was made in 2013, and they kind of finished it or finished working on it in like 2016, I think, or 2017, probably mid 2016, 2017. Anyways, so it's been kind of just languishing since then. I mean, people love the game, and it actually runs really well online, so that's the reason I believe, being selected to actually run as a tournament that someone's going to win money for. Then next is, let's see. Skullgirls, Second Encore, which it's an indie game made by
Independent.
Independent, yeah.
Yep.
Um, Game, really cool game, a lot of love put into that game. Always had kind of a small scene um, of small amount of people that played it a lot. So I'm sure they're pretty happy that they're getting this Evo spotlight. And then the last game, which even I was surprised to see, was it's called Them's Fighting Herds.
Say what now?
So that is a game. It's something, all right. It started out as a My Little Pony fan game, fan fighting game, but they
Like My Little Pony, like horses,
My Little
ponies.
Pony. So it's too hard for me to explain why that's a thing, but basically there was a recent My Little Pony cartoon that was pretty good. Uh and there was a sub community that came up called the Bronies. Uh and yeah. So out of that came, a couple people like, hey, we like fighting games and we like this My Little Pony stuff. Let's make a game on it. But I think they kind of like basically cease and desisted them. Like, nah, you can't make this. So
Yeah,
they
like
were
with
like,
the licensing and all that, I guess.
yeah, some kind of problem around that. But they were like, well, I guess they were just like, this is speculation on my part. But I was like, well, they have the groundwork. We had the groundwork under here. We have the systems and stuff. Why don't we just make our own characters? So, yeah, it's a bunch of uh, animal characters fighting each other. So there's Arizona who's like it's like a kind of, I don't know, like a cow, and she's like a cowboy cow or something like that. And what's another one? I don't remember many of the names.
No, but there's like a lamb, and you just go through the
Yeah, a
animals.
lamb and like a alpaca,
Alpaca, yeah.
alpaca or whatever. And
Trying to remember what else I saw.
I don't know if she's a dragon, but some dragon kind of thing. Basically animals, and they fight each other, and it's a fighting game, and it's gonna get the spotlight at Evo. And the reason is it runs really well online. I mean, it's a good game. It's not my style, but hey, more power to those who play it, and I'm happy for them, honestly. It does look like a fun game, just like I said, not my style. So, cool. I'm going to be watching all of that for sure. But yeah, that's kind of the effects is that people are kind of thrust into this not ideal situation, and we're really just trying to make do, playing in these not ideal conditions, trying not to get too frustrated with online play and stuff, and trying to, just really work around that kind of thing. Um, and the tournament organizers. So in a more general level, it really hit these tournament organizers hard because, think of organizing a big party or anything like that, and this kind of thing happens where, your event can't happen. You can't recoup all those costs. You can't, all these deposits you made and all of this. And these are people doing it out of their pockets. And, they don't have that much money. They're not rich off of these tournaments. They really barely break even most of the time, and I think a lot of the time they lose money. They just do it for the love of the fighting game community and things like that. So, you hear a lot of these guys talk about it and just how much trouble they're having, and it's really sad. So some of them are not going to make it, which is really unfortunate for the community. Luckily, it seems that enough of them are financially stable enough that I do think there's going to be less tournaments next year for sure. I think, but they are still going to be there. Thank goodness. People will still have places to gather, to travel to and play, and meet up with their communities. So that's kind of the effects of the whole situation on that. Um, and then just to kind of segue, so because every company is having to transition into this stuff. So it sucks because this is a transitional year where the new consoles, the PlayStation and the Xbox Series X, um, they were supposed to come out like holiday season this year. That was always, I mean, there were rumors for years and years and years, because it's just kind of like a timing thing. Like it's been about 5-ish years with these, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. It's probably about time for a PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox to come out. So obviously all the rumors were kind of confirmed, and they're like, hey, yeah, we're making the PlayStation 5. It's gonna land around November, or Xbox and things like that. And then all the pandemic stuff starts popping off, and so the first thing was that everyone was worried about, oh, okay, things are shutting down in China. That's why these things are built. Um, uh, but it seems that actually the problems are not in like hardware sourcing and manufacturing,
Really?
but
So it's more so what then?
the problems seem to mostly be in software, in like getting games done in time for, well, yeah, getting games done and like tested and bug fixed for the release of these consoles.
And does that stuff happen more in the US or a certain part of the world or a little bit of everywhere?
Everywhere,
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure
everywhere.
if it made sense. Like if it's more in Asia where they've kind of loosened out of the COVID and a lot less restrictions and so on, then it would be easier. But if it's, here in the US where we're just
It's
starting to loosen in some places.
it's definitely everywhere. Even like the Japanese developers talking delays and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's gonna be the most alarming thing, quote unquote. I think there was even a thing where one of them, Microsoft or it's probably Sony, said that there would be no manufacturing delays, basically. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of delays due to COVID of like games and different things like that. So the problem is that when you have a new console, like from the perspective of these companies, when you have
Microsoft and PlayStation.
when you have a new console, you want to show people like, wow, this is a huge step up. I need to buy this, right?
Hmm.
You don't you don't want it to seem like, oh, it just runs the games I already have a little bit better, right? That's not worth it. You need it to be like, wow, this is
The Mac Daddy,
yeah,
hottest,
this is just
hotter than sliced bread, or the best thing since sliced bread, however that goes.
yeah. And usually when developers have a lot of time, they can do that kind of thing. Like, okay, we have this much power now at our disposal. Um, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make this thing that we couldn't make before, but now with all these delays, the games won't be able to land at least near enough to the release of the consoles. Like the new stuff at least. There's gonna be games that are what's called cross-generational, where like I think especially like Madden NFL, and like big football simulation, quote unquote, game. Um, yeah, it'll be like cross-generational where you buy it on the PS4 and then you can download it on PS5, like the PS5 version. So you get both versions in within like a window or something. I don't know.
So they're still going to release the consoles even with these game delays, as it stands
Yeah,
right now, at least.
yeah. I mean, they can't miss holiday season. There's no
I
way.
just wonder, not only these COVID impacts in this way, but you have some of
The
the
economic
largest
impact.
the largest number of unemployed people
Yeah,
in a generation or two at
yeah,
least.
yeah.
So largest unemployment numbers definitely in this administration, even I think even worse, or this at least as worse as the 2008 recession.
Yeah.
So I just
It's
wonder if there's rationale to delay because people's disposal. I mean, the Jeff Bezos, and that tier of people, their disposable income has not been significantly impacted. Whatever,
I
that's
think
fine. But I think a lot of people are being very cognizant, and even if they are still employed, being cautious with their spending. And like maybe a game system isn't one of them. So I'm wondering if it makes sense, even if it being holiday season. But I don't know
no.
if you've heard
There's
anything about that.
no. There's no way. There's like absolutely zero way they can miss out on holiday. Because then everybody's gonna buy Nintendo Switches.
Hmm.
There's no.
Yeah, I guess like some people are gonna
They're
buy
gonna
some better
spend.
than none. I guess if you
Yes.
don't release it, then no one's getting it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like people are stimulated to spend during holiday season. There's just no way they're gonna miss that.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be a little awkward. There's not gonna be any, killer apps they usually call them for the new consoles.
Killer apps. What does that mean? Like,
Killer app is just, something like I said, something that fully takes advantage of, in this case, the new console that makes you think or makes, consumers think, I have to have that. Like, I don't know. I can't think of a specific thing
like,
about an iPhone, but it's like the way people feel about the new iPhone or,
ooh, there's a new camera on the iPhone that does this, night vision or something.
and
And
like it compels you to be like, I
I
have
have
to
to get
have
the
it.
new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So
So, and are those often like unique to just that system, or
sometime,
sometimes?
a
I guess
lot
it
of the times
depends.
I would
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
So let's and hypothetically, let's say that all games come out on every system. There's no what they call platform exclusivity. Um, then it just becomes a decision of, oh, hmm, which controller do I like better? What system runs faster or whatever, right? And then the other thing is that then they're just basically computers, like lockdown
Right.
computers.
Right.
So what they've done is a lot of the times, and this time around is kind of more pronounced where they have their own kind of studios. Like Microsoft has Microsoft Game Studios, and Sony has like Sony Global Studios, I think they call it, um, where they develop games for their ecosystem, their system that they obviously, if you're putting money into developed games. They're only coming out like one game that I'm actually pretty interested in is Halo Infinite, and
It's on Microsoft, right?
That's Microsoft. That's obviously only going to be on Xbox and PC most likely. I'm thinking it's going to be on PC. I hope so. Yeah, that's never going to be on PlayStation. So if it was like, well, I only want these new consoles to play Halo. Well, you're like, well, I can't buy a PlayStation, So much the same way there's this past console generation, the PlayStation 4, they have a game called God of War, which is really good, and Marvel's Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man. Come on, it's a really good Spider-Man game. Only on PlayStation 4, not on PC, not on Xbox. So if you were in the store and you're like, wow, I really gotta have that Spider-Man, you need a PlayStation 4. So there's just kind of there's some of those games, but there's probably not enough. Once again, it's just gonna be kind of an awkward period for like a month or two where there's like not much to do with the new systems. Like, well, I can play. The good thing is there's gonna be like some kind of backwards compatibility. Both Microsoft and Sony have been kind of harping like, hey, it'll be compatible with all the other games, yay. Whereas that wasn't really the case, between the Xbox 360 and Xbox One for a while, or PS3 and PS4, that happened too. So at least people will have games to play. They won't be just, poop out of luck. But yeah, there's not going to be anything where it's like, I bought my PS5 for this reason. It's like, well, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that is probably going to be a little bit of an awkward phase there. I don't really even know which one I want out of the two. I'm probably just going to buy both.
Shame. First world problems.
First world problems. I know, because they are Xbox, possibly Xbox. I feel more strongly about the PlayStation 5. I think if you really would have put a gun to my head, I would.
Well, luckily I have a gun. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I would probably. This is not an official thing like the PS5 is better. No, they're the same. I like PC better anyways because I can do whatever I want with my PC. Anyways, so it's going to be interesting. That's about that. That's about the extent of that.
All right. Cool.
Yep.
Any other closing thoughts, ideas, things that the people need to know?
I would say definitely look up the Animal Crossing stuff. It's very cool and it's just, it's like cat videos. Honestly,
it brings everyone joy.
It really does. It's really adorable, honestly. Only reason I don't play it's just not my bag. I'm like not creative. I can work at something and do. They call it grinding in gaming, where it's almost like the real world. The definition of grinding, where you're just doing something boring for a long time. For at first not much reward. But at after a lot of grinding, quote unquote, you have this wealth of something, right? And Animal Crossing is kind of like that. You do these like menial, I say menial, that's probably too negative a connotation, but just kind of like, whatever. You're like picking up shells on the beach or shaking trees and like stuff comes out. I don't know, right? You fish. A lot of this good fishing in that game, and you do things and you kind of amass wealth, and then with that wealth you can just kind of do stuff, customize your town and do neat things. Anyways, Animal Crossing, good game.
All right, so if you have questions for Christian about gaming or anything else, go ahead and hit us up on, you can contact us at Monique at thevictorypodcast.com. Also, you can hit any of our social media pages. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Victory Pod, TheVictoryPod. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank my husband Christian again for sitting down and chatting a bit. Um, it's helpful to have him as a co-host since he's geographically down the hall. And thank everyone for listening. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And please share with your friends and family and even your enemies. Check us out at our website at thevictorypodcast.com or find us across the social media platforms at The Victory Pod. So I'll sign off like I do every episode. Every problem has a solution. It's whether you're willing to do the work to find it. Let's do the work and be victorious.